welcome back to the channel. I'm Stacy and you're watching Pop Culture Time Machine, where we hit rewind and relive the legendary, the cringy, and the unforgettable moments that happened this very week, way back when. All right, let's kick it off with Wilson Pickett recording in the midnight hour on May 12th, 1965. It wasn't just another hit, it was a defining moment for soul music in 1960s pop culture. In the Midnight Hour became Pickett's signature song and one of the biggest soul hits of the mid 1960s. It helped bring Southern soul with its raw emotion and rhythm into mainstream pop radio, making African American music central to American pop culture. The success of the song contributed to the rise of soul as a dominant genre alongside Motown and Stax Records. Pickett's gritty vocals, commanding delivery, and infectious groove defined the soul sound for years. The song's drum pattern and syncopated rhythm influenced countless R&B and rock tracks, showing that African American music could shape danceable, popular rhythms across genres. Its energy bridged R&B, soul, and early funk, laying groundwork for later musical evolution. The song's title and lyrics evoke nightlife, dancing, and freedom, resonating with young audiences during the 1960s. It became a soundtrack for clubs, parties, and youth rebellion, reflecting how music shapes social life and pop culture trends. Pickett's national success came during the Civil Rights era, when African American artists were gaining visibility on the radio and charts. In the Midnight Hour helped introduce African American culture into mainstream America, influencing fashion, slang, and social norms. It contributed to cross cultural music appreciation, inspiring Caucasian artists to cover soul songs and bringing African American music into pop consciousness. In simple terms, Wilson Pickett recording in the Midnight Hour marked soul music's rise to mainstream prominence. It wasn't just a hit, it was a cultural signal. Music could energize youth, break racial barriers, and influence style, dance, and social attitudes. Let's not forget those iconic movies like Crimson Tide, which was released on May 12th, 1995. It was directed by Tony Scott and starring Denzel Washington and Gene Hackman. While it's often remembered as a high stakes thriller about a nuclear submarine, its cultural impact extends beyond its box office numbers. Before Crimson Tide, submarine films often had a niche technical appeal, like The Hunt for Red October, which was released in 1990, being the notable exception. Crimson Tide made the nuclear submarine thriller intense and personal. The conflict isn't just international, it's moral and psychological. High stakes, yet accessible. It's combined technical military details with human drama. This set a template for later military thrillers in the 1990s and 2000s, influencing films like The Sum of All Fears, which was released in 2002, and Black Sea, which was released in 2014. The movie's central conflict, Hackman versus Washington, over launching nuclear missiles, was essentially duty versus conscience, chain of command versus personal ethics. This resonated culturally because of the 1990s were a post Cold War era. People were questioning military authority and the role of nuclear weapons in global politics. Crimson Tide brought these debates into mainstream entertainment. Pop culture often remembers you're either with me or you're against me. The intense verbal standoffs. It demonstrated how dialogue can drive suspense, not just explosions. In a broader sense, it influenced action films that tried to balance moral tension with high octane thrills. Denzel Washington cemented as an action star capable of subtle moral depth. Gene Hackman reinforced his reputation for commanding morally ambiguous roles. Their on screen clash became a reference for mentor versus protege conflicts in cinema. Even after the Cold War ended, nuclear fears were still culturally potent. Crimson Tide reminded audiences of mutually assured destruction, humanized the consequences of military mistakes, helped pop culture explore high tech, near future military tension in a digestible form. It joined a 1990s trend of films questioning military authority and ethical dilemmas, along with A Few Good Men, which was released in 1992, and Sneakers, which was released in 1992 as well. Tony Scott's fast-cut style and the claustrophobic submarine setting influenced later thrillers and action films. Video game aesthetics and naval or tactical combat games, pop culture sense of tight, tense, moralized action. In simple terms, Crimson Tide brought intense moral drama to mainstream military thrillers, showing that action films could explore ethical dilemmas, personal conflict, and high stakes tension without losing mass appeal. It also reinforced the submarine thriller as a pop culture touchstone and helped define 1990s action cinema as both smart and suspenseful. Here's your Did You Know of the Week. On May 13th, 1898, Thomas Edison suing the American Mutoscope Company isn't just a legal footnote. It is a key event in the early shaping of the film industry and pop culture. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, Edison held patents on the kinetoscope and early motion picture technology. The American Mutoscope Company, later Biograph, was producing motion pictures and devices that competed with Edison's inventions. Edison sued them over patent infringement, trying to control both the hardware, the cameras and viewing machines, and the content. At first glance, it's a business dispute, but culturally, it shaped how Americans consumed movies. Edison's lawsuits pushed companies to innovate around patents, which encouraged experimentation in camera technology and projection. This indirectly helped the movies evolve into a true mass medium instead of a gadget for a few curiosities. Edison's aggressive legal tactics made independent filmmakers flee to New York and eventually Hollywood to escape patent enforcement. This was the beginning of the independent versus monopoly narrative in pop culture. Hollywood itself exists partly because of Edison's lawsuits. The mutoscope was essentially a one-person movie machine, a precursor to cinema and later television. Edison's attempt to dominate this technology highlighted that motion pictures were becoming culturally significant, not just a scientific novelty. Early cinema culture was literally being dictated by patent law, teaching future filmmakers and audiences that technology and creativity are intertwined. Edison's enforcement of patents delayed the spread of some film technologies, but it also accelerated the migration of filmmakers to Hollywood, creating the global entertainment capital as we know today. In other words, the pop culture we consume today, blockbusters, independent films, even streaming, exist partly because of these early legal battles. In short term, Edison suing the American Mutoscope Company wasn't just about money or patents. It was a formative moment in the creation of American cinema and the culture around it. It set the stage for independent filmmaking, Hollywood's rise, cinema becoming a mass cultural force. So, pop culture owes some of its structure to this early clash between invention, law, and creativity. And that's your nostalgic rewind. This week in pop culture history gave us everything. What's your favorite throwback moment? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss a ride in the pop culture time machine. Until next week, stay nostalgic, stay fabulous.